Mahadeva Shambho Shiva Shankar.
I, Nilima Dalmia Adhar, the Honorary Convener of Delhi NCR Affairs of the Prabha Khaitan Foundation, am delighted to welcome all of you splendid luminaries for the launch of Vikram Sampath's new book, Waiting for Shiva, Unearthing the Truth of Kashi's Gyan, Vapi, in the presence of our Honorable Finance Minister Smt Nirmala Sitharaman ji, revered Sadhguru Sakshi Shree of the Sudarshan Sakshi Dhaam. And I must add that we couldn't have chosen a more opportune time to launch this book, because if I'm not wrong, Mahashivratri is just a couple of days away. And Vikram, if that is an omen, then your book is going to fly off the shelf with the blessings of Mahadev. We have with us, this book launch is going to be followed by an engaging panel discussion between the author Vikram Sampath, Shri Vishnu Shankar Jain, who is an advocate, and Dr. Anand Ranganathan. It shall be moderated by the iconic Advaita Kala, who excels at everything she does. This event has been organized by the Prabha Khaitan Foundation under the prized initiative Kitaab in association with the publisher Blue One Inc. And before we go on to unveiling the book, allow me to introduce you to the Prabha Khaitan Foundation, which shines bright in its endeavors to widen the spectrum of literature, art, and culture. The Prabha Khaitan Foundation is a Kolkata-based non-profit trust founded by an eminent Indian literature entrepreneur, philanthropist, social activist, visionary, and feminist, the late Dr. Prabha Khaitan, back in the 1980s. Her vision to create a better tomorrow and her timeless philosophy of karma hi jeevan hai has guided us to focus on widening the spectrum of literature and culture worldwide. And through our prized activities and events in more than 50 cities in India and overseas, for the last 4 decades, we have worked consistently for the cause. The essence of the foundation is the amalgamation of the multicultural diversities of India. The philosophy of unity in diversity has been inspiring the foundation to connect thinkers, writers, poets, artists, intellectuals, and cultural enthusiasts, and to curate boutique initiatives and events and festivals that showcase the literary and cultural assets of our country. We align with UNESCO's views that cultural development has the potential to promote sustainable development in marginalized sections of the society. And for all its endeavors, the foundation enjoys the patronage of Shri Cement Limited as a part of their CSR initiative. The cooperation of our distinguished associates, partners, collaborators, and particularly the Ehsas Women of India has helped the foundation to curate book launches, authors' meets, cultural programs, festivals, and other boutique events periodically. Ehsas, let me tell you, is the women's empowerment wing of the foundation that represents a conglomeration of successful professional women across all spheres of society who have contributed immensely in facilitating our events as moderators, conversationalists, and myriad other roles. Our events that have become distinguished landmarks in India and abroad include Kitaab for our book launches, and this event is under the aegis of Kitaab. And our Authors' Afternoon, the Rights Circle, the Universe Rights dedicated to English literature, Kalam for Hindi literature, Akhar for regional literature, Loves for Urdu, Farsi, Persian, and Arabic, Ek Mulaqat and Chaupal for the meeting of minds with eminent personalities from different walks of life, Sur or Saaz for traditional singers and musicians, Chal Chitra Rangmanch for promoting the performing arts and special screening of films. Kitaab is a stellar initiative of our foundation that celebrates the birth of our book through tastefully curated book launches in major cities of our country. This initiative provides veteran and debutant authors a fine platform to showcase their literary works to a discerning audience and media. And the authors get to share stories, snippets, inspirations, ideas related to their books during the session. And now may I introduce all the eminent luminaries that are here today. Our chief guest, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, is the Honorable Finance Minister of the Government of India. She is a distinguished Indian economist, politician, and a senior leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party. A very warm welcome to you, Nirmala ji. Our star author, Dr. Vikram Sampath, is a historian based in Bangalore. He has written 9 splendid books, one of which we launched also proudly, including Splendors of Royal Mysore, The Untold Story of the Vodiyas, Voice of the Veena S. Balachandar, Women of the Records in Indian Classical Music and the Gramophone, his iconic 2-volume biography, Savarkar, Echoes from a Forgotten Past, and Savarkar, A Contested Legacy, and his latest, Brave Hearts of Bharat, Vignettes from Indian History, have all become national bestsellers, catapulting him to the highest echelons of the writers of this century. Can we have a warm round of applause for him? More about Vikram, which everybody ought to know, is that in the year 2021, Vikram was elected a fellow of the prestigious Royal Historical Society. He was awarded the Sahitya Academy First Yuva Puraskar in English Literature and the ARSC International Award for Excellence in Historical Research in New York for his book, My Name is Gauhar Jan, The Life and Times of a Musician. The book has subsequently been adapted into a superb play, Gauhar, by the renowned Lilette Dubé. Vikram was among the 4 writers and artists selected as writers in residence of the Rashtrapati Bhavan in 2015. He has a doctorate in history and music from the University of Queensland, Australia, and was a senior research fellow at the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, New Delhi, in 2017 to 2019. He was also a fellow of the Aspen Global Leadership Network, Eisenhower Global Fellow, and a visiting fellow of the Wissenschaft Kolleg Britain. I think I've said that right. Currently, he is an adjunct senior fellow at Monash University in Australia. Vikram is the founder of the Archive of Indian Music and the Foundation for Indian Historical and Cultural Research that fosters new scholarship in Indian history and curates Arth, a culture festival. Kudos to you, Vikram, for giving us yet another literary marvel, Waiting for Shiva, unearthing the truths of Kashi's Gyan Vapi, which bring alive the history, antiquity, and sanctity of Kashi as the abode of Bhagwan Shiva in the form of Vishveshwar or Vishwanath. And can we have another rounding applause for Vikram's iconic works? For this literary genius who deserves every accolade that he has earned and shall accrue to him in the future. Someday you'll have to share that secret with me, that how do you pack in so much in so little, or you've lied about your age. We are deeply honored to have with us Sadhguru Sakshi Shree of the Siddha Sudarshan Sakshi Dhaam, a spiritual master, a mystic. He is the founder of the Science Divine Foundation and the Young India movement for unleashing the limitless powers of young minds across the world. Guruji, aapko shat shat naman and many thanks for gracing us with your holy presence today. Among the other glittering luminaries is Dr. Anand Ranganathan, a noted scientist and author. After his education from St. Stephen's College and postdoctoral stint at Cambridge, Dr. Ranganathan returned to India to join the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology in Delhi, where he ran his laboratory for 16 years as a staff research scientist. In 2015, he joined the Special Center for Molecular Medicine at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi, and became a full professor in 2019. His laboratory works and research have been published in eminent scientific journals across the globe. Dr. Ranganathan writes and appears frequently on television debates on subjects like politics, media, and science. His columns have appeared in Swarajya, DNA, NL, First Post, and Quartz, to name a few. He's also the consulting editor of Swarajya. He has authored 5 books: The Land of the Wilted Rose, For Love and Honor, The Rat Eater, Souffle, and Hindus in Hindu Rashtra, and a book on India's forgotten scientists, which is On the Anvil. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Ranganathan. We are honored to have with us Advocate Shri Vishnu Shankar Jain, who has watched his father, Shri Hari Shankarji, fighting for Hindu Dharma and Sanatani values right from his formative years. Shri Vishnu Shankar Jain started his career assisting his father with the Sri Ram Janmabhoomi case of Ayodhya, challenging the 2010 verdict of the Allahabad High Court in 2011. In 2016, he passed the examination of the advocate on record of the Supreme Court and registered his first appearance in the Supreme Court in the Sri Ram Janmabhoomi case of Ayodhya that same year. His latest is the Shringar Gauri Gyan Vapi complex case, demanding the right to pray at the Gyan Vapi disputed site, where he is representing 5 female petitioners in the lawsuit which aims to restore the devotees' right to pray. During the ongoing hearing, the court had ordered the survey and the videography of the disputed structure at the Gyan Vapi complex in Varanasi, during which, as you all probably know, a shivling was discovered. This made Vishnu Shankar Jain a household name amongst the devotees of Kashi Vishwanath, all those who patiently wait to reclaim the abode of their God. It's a pleasure to have you with us today, Vishnu Shankarji. And now for the one who ties it all together with her inimitable skill, Advaita Kala. Advaita, an author, screenwriter, and commentator herself, is moderating today's conversation around Vikram's book, and this promises to be a scintillating exchange for all of us. A very warm welcome to you, Advaita. May I request Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, Shri Sadhguru Sakshi Shree, Shri Vishnu Shankar Jain, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, and Advaita Kala, and Vidwan Shri Karthik ji to come on the stage for the lighting of the lamp.
ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ उद्दीभ्यस्वदातवेदो भक्कण्डरतिं मम पशोगस्य मह्यमावह जीवनं च दिशो दिशा मानोहिकं चेर्जातवेदो कामश्वं पुरुषं जगत् अभिप्रदग्न आगहि श्रियामा परिपादय दीपाराधनमुहूर्तः शुभमुहूर्तो अस्तु एतत्काले सूर्यादीनां नवानां ग्रहाणामत्यन्त अतिशहित आनुकूल्यफलप्रसादफलसिद्धिरस्तु ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पदा न शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सेदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः ॐ प्रातरग्निं प्रातरिन्द्रं हवामहे प्रातर्मित्रावरुणाः प्रातरश्विनाः
प्रातर्भगं भूषणं
ब्रह्मणस्पतिं प्रातः सोममुतरुद्रं हवेम प्रातर्जितं भगमुग्रं हवेम वयं पुत्रमधितेर्यो विधर्ता आर्द्रश्चित्यं मन्यमानुश्चरश्चिद्राजाचित्रं भगं भक्षीत्याः भगप्रणेतर्भगसत्यराजो भगेमाङ्घ्रियमुदवदतुन्नः भगप्रणो जनयगोभिरश्वेर्भगप्रणृवन्नृवन्तु स्याम उदेतानीं भगवन्तु स्यामोतः प्रविद्वौतमध्ये अह्ना उतोदिता मघवन्तूर्यस्य वयं देवानागं सुमतौ स्याम भग एव भगवागमस्तु देवास्तेन वयं भगवन्तु स्याम तन्त्वा भगदर्व इद्यो हवीमितनो भगपुरहेता भवेह समद्भरायोषसो नमन्तदधिक्रावे वसुतये पताय अर्वाचीनं वसुपितं भगन्नो रथमिवाश्वावाजिन आवहन्तु अश्वावधेर्गोमधेर्नहुषासो वीरवधेश्वतमुच्यन्तु भद्राः घृजन्तु हाना विश्वतः प्रपीना यूयं पाधस्वस्यभिः सदा नः यो माग्ने भागिनकं सन्तमता भागं चिकीर्षति अभागमग्ने तं कुरु मामग्ने भागिनं कुरु भाग्यदेवतायै नमः ॐ नमः सोमाय च रुद्राय च नमस्ताम्राय चारुणाय च नमः शङ्घाय च पशुपतये च नम उग्राय च भीमाय च नमो अग्रे वधाय च दूरे नमो हन्त्रे च हनीयसे च नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यो नमस्ताराय नमः शम्भवे तमयो भवे च नमः शङ्कराय तमयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च नमस्तीर्थ्याय च कूल्याय च नमः पार्याय च वार्याय च नमः प्रतरणाय चोत्तरणाय च नमः आतार्याय च लाध्याय च नमः शस्म्याय च नमः शिगत्याय च प्रवाह्याय च एकादमे तिस्रश्च मे पञ्चच मे सप्तच मे नवच मे एकादशच मे त्रयोदशच मे पञ्चदशच मे सप्तदशच मे नवदशच मे एकविंशतिश्च मे षदिश्च मे पञ्चविंशतिश्च मे सप्तविंशतिश्च मे नवविंशतिश्च मे एकत्रिंशश्च मे त्रयस्त्रिंशश्च मे ष्टौच मे द्वादशच मे षोडशच मे विंशतिश्च मे चतुर्विंशतिश्च मे अष्टाविंशतिश्च मे द्वात्रिंशच्च मे षट्त्रिंशच्च मे चत्वारिंशश्च मे चतुश्चत्वारिंशश्च मे अष्टाचत्वारिंशश्च मे वाजश्च प्रसवश्चाभिदुश्च कृतश्च सुवश्च मूर्धादव्यष्णिः शान्त्यायनः शान्त्यश्च भुवनश्च भुवनश्चाधिपतिश्च ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ.
That was Vidwan Shri Kartik ji, who has infused the environment with his incantations of Vedic shlokas and the Shiv Stuti. Many thanks, Vidwan ji. Can I request Shinjini Kulkarni, Ehsas woman of Delhi NCR, to come up on the stage to felicitate the M. Shinjini is felicitating Shri Nirmala ji, Sadhguru Sakshi Shree of the Siddha Sudarshan Sakshi Dhaam. Vikram Sampath, Vishnu Shankar ji, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Advaita Kala. And विद्वान श्री कार्तिक जी, वो आप कहाँ चले गए? There he is, with handloom stars. Thank you, Shinjini. May I now invite the representative from Blue One Inc. to felicitate the eminent panelists. Okay, so just go ahead. These are potted plants which are being given to our distinguished guests. Will Srimati Mugdha Mishri Chakravarti please come up on the stage and give her welcome address? Thank you. Ms. Chakravarti is the CEO of Blue One Inc.
Namaste. It's with great delight that I extend a hearty welcome to all of you. Eagerly awaited the book launch of Waiting for Shiva, Unearthing the Truth of Kashi's Gyan, Vapi, by the esteemed historian and author, Dr. Vikram Sampath. Your distinguished presence here bestows upon us a profound sense of honor as we gather here to celebrate the launch of this extraordinary opus. We are greatly privileged to be graced by the esteemed presence of a chief guest, the Honorable Finance Minister, Smt. Nirmala Sitharaman ji, whose dignified aura adds an air of significance to this august gathering. We also extend a warm welcome to Sadhguru Sakshi Shree ji of Siddha, Sudarshan Shakti Dhaam. Furthermore, I extend a special welcome to our distinguished panelists, Dr. Anand Ranganathan and Advocate Shri Vishnu Shankar Jain ji, as well as to our moderator, Ms. Advaita. I wish to express heartfelt appreciation of our author, Dr. Vikram Sampath, whose work, Waiting for Shiva, Unearthing the Truth of Kashi's Gyan, Vapi, delves into the depths of India's history with insightful ideas, analysis, and a comprehensive exploration. Dr. Sampath's fearless expression of thought-provoking ideas is both breathtaking in scope and brilliant in execution. This is the depth we speak when we talk about Blue One Inc. and its publishing aspirations. As a representative of Blue One Inc., I would like to share with you the kind of publishing organization we are and what was the need to start yet another publishing house. Blue One Inc. aims to embody the philosophy of freedom of expression, irrespective of ideologies and isms. This is what we term publishing conscious literature. Literature where we are able to bring depth and truth to political life, culture, business, education, and human relationships through the written word. We aim for Blue One Inc. to be a platform for literature that envisions changing the narrative and creating a new narrative that is compelling enough to catch the imagination of the young without politicizing or polluting the mind, keeping it pure through debate and rationality. We want to grow in a space where all narratives get subsumed, where thinking becomes wholly liberated without any narrative. We needed honest and revolutionary ideas, writing, and production to create this. Thus, with this conscious thought, Blue One Inc. was born. The aim of bringing such literature to our readers, along with our authors, is of utmost importance to us. Without further ado, let us embark upon this voyage of intellectual enlightenment and discovery collectively. Once again, I extend my sincere gratitude to all of you for gracing us with your presence here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for the most important part of the evening, unveiling of this iconic book. Before I request Nirmala ji to officially unveil the book, can I invite all my precious Ehsas women of Delhi NCR, Shinjini, Kulkarni, Archana Dalmia, Dipali Bhasin, Karuna Goenka, all Ehsas women of Delhi, Anshu Mehra, Ehsas woman of Meerut, and Anandita Chatterjee, the Executive Trustee of Prabha Khaitan Foundation. Mugda ji, आप कहाँ चली गई? Please आइए. मुग्धा मिश्री श्रीवास्तव चक्रवर्ती जी of Blue One Ink. मुझे नर्वस कर दिया आपने. Please join us on stage, and Praveen Tiwari ji to please come up on stage so that we can unveil the book. Sorry, Praveen ji, मैं आपका most important नाम That was indeed an amazing photo op for all of us. Can I request Vikram Sampath, the star author, to come to the podium and introduce us to this book that we all are eager to read.
As I greet everyone in Varanasi, join me. Namah Parvati Pate Hara Hara Mahadev. Respected Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji, Pujya Sadhguru Sakshi Shree, my dear brothers Vishnu Shankar ji and Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Advaita Kala, members of my publishing house, Blue One Ink, and the wonderful members of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. Today is indeed a very, very special and a very emotional evening for me. As a historian obsessed with dates, just this morning I was by chance checking and I was stunned to see a coincidence that it was on 4th of March 2008, 16 years ago, that my first book, Splendors of Royal Mysore, The Untold Story of the Wadiyars, was officially launched. And that evening, I thought it was just a flash in the pan, a one-book wonder, and I would go back to my extremely boring corporate job in finance, which it was soul-sapping, and I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing then. Luckily, I think destiny had better plans for what I was to do later in life. And here I am with my 9th book, waiting for Shiva, unearthing the truth of Kashi's Gyan, Vapi. And speaking of coincidences, I think there are more coincidences even to this day. It is a Somvar, Mahadev's most favorite day, auspicious day. And it is also Kalashtami, Kala Bhairav Ashtami today. And it is in the same week as Mahashivaratri. And in this auspicious time, to have the book released at the hands of someone I deeply admire for her quiet courage, her dignified presence in public life, and her strong sense of resilience in everything that she does, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman ji. And my revered spiritual guru, Sakshi Sadhguru Maharaj, and everyone else, well-wishers and friends, and in your presence to have this book released. What can be a better blessing than all of this? Heart is really filled with a lot of gratitude. My literary career has been a series of serendipities, very, very happy accidents. And one such happy accident occurred a couple of months back in Pondicherry. And that was where, at that time I was neck deep into writing a very troublesome, very difficult book on the story of Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. And coming from Bangalore, Karnataka, where now probably Tipu Jayanti might come back on the anvil, it was a huge risk that I continue to take, but I seem to like these troubles that I undertake most often. I was neck deep into that, and by chance in Pondicherry at a literature festival, I met this wonderful gentleman, Vishnu Shankar Jain ji, whom I so deeply revere. Vishnu ji and his father, Hari Shankar Jain ji, as you know, are dharmic warriors who have staked their everything to ensure that this civilization gets its liberation. In the course of the research of the book, when I spoke to them, the kind of intimidations, the kind of threats, the kind of every rule under the book, which has been twisted to ensure that they don't fight this case, disregarding all of this, and for so many decades they have gone doggedly. So it was a great honor to just serendipitously again meet Vishnuji over dinner in Pondicherry, the same place which gave sanctuary to Sri Aurobindo. That's where this book was born. And over dinner, Vishnuji, along with the passion that he brings to the subject, there was also an element of pathos in his eyes and voice, that there is so much material about Kashi Vishwanath temple, the James Prinsep lithographs of the Ashtamandap, the grand 16th century temple that Narayan Bhatt had constructed, and all these details that he was sharing with me. And he said, unlike Ayodhya, this particular story had not really reached out to the common masses. And he said, can we do something about it? Can you probably write a few articles? It started almost that way. But as I got into this alley of so much of information, I realized that articles would not do justice to this subject. There had to be a full-length book. And I almost felt that it was a historian's burden, a responsibility to ensure that all these facts about Kashi Vishwanath, which we probably do not know, we keep seeing in the newspapers, we keep seeing on news channels that the Gyan Vapi case is going on a daily basis, probably even as we speak. But how many of us really know what is the history behind this whole case? And what is it that we are fighting for? So I thought that it was extremely essential to put this all together in the form of a book. Of course, I did not want to limit it only to the legalese and legal history. And so I decided to expand the scope to a wider range of sources, right from Puranic texts to Sanskrit Nibandhas, to Persian travelogues and accounts, to also colonial documents of the British era, court papers, and the several thousands of pages that Vishnuji very generously dumped on me, saying this is what you can read as research material. And when you read legal documents, you realize, even those who know English, whether you really know English at all, the kind of English that is written in legal language, it is so difficult to comprehend. So I decided to go ahead with it. Of course, before doing that, the other culprit in this whole case, who plays the Narad in most debates on television channels too, Anand Ranganathan, was also there in Pondicherry that evening. And usually I consult him for most things, other than our hostility over Mysore Park, which still belongs to Karnataka, as Smita Prakash is also affirmatively saying. Most of the other things we agree upon. And so with Anand's advice and go ahead, I decided that let's do this. And there in Pondicherry, I also found my publisher, who was all the more eager to take it up, Praveen Tiwari ji, whose passion and dedication to put this together probably only came second to mine. So, and also I think when you have an intention which is good, The universe, they say, conspires to put things together for you. And quite surprisingly, help started coming from various quarters. And I'm most fortunate and blessed that the Jagadguru Shankaracharya, the 72nd Peethadipati of the Kudali Sringeri Mahasamsthanam, Shri Abhinava Shankara Bharati Tirthaji, he got in touch with me out of nowhere. And then he said, if you're writing about this, there are certain things I'd like to advise you to include in the book. And so some chapters of it, in one chapter, there's also the entire esoteric meaning of what a Shivalingam is actually. It's always, we are condemned and criticized that it is phallus worship and so on, but is it actually that? Is there a deeper meaning to what the Shivaling is? What do the Agama Shastras say and so on? And a series of Sanskrit Nibandhas and the Puranas that I mentioned, Shiva Purana, Linga Purana, Padma Purana, Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Skanda Purana, the main Puran which has the Kashi Khanda in it as a Parishishta, and also Kashi Rahasya in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran. All these Purans, and also several Sanskrit Nibandhas that I mentioned, Kritya Kalpataru by Lakshmi Dhara, Tirtha Prakasha by Mitra Mishra, Tristhali Setu by Narayan Bhatt. All these books had a lot about Kashi Mahatmyam written in it, alongside the Persian accounts of people like Hasan Nizami, Al-Baruni, Ibn Battuta, of course the Masire Alamgiri of Aurangzeb. All these needed to be consulted, as also the court records. Right from 1810, this place was constantly under contestation. The Hindus never gave up. Shrines fell, shrines rose, but the Hindus of Kashi never gave up. And that is the fundamental story of resilience and courage that this book tries to bring about. And in Hindu law, once a temple, always a temple, as Vishnuji always says, and that is the basis for this entire case. It is not something that started now, it has been constantly under contestation in British courts, and from 1991, the first civil suit that was filed, which went on in abeyance for almost 22 years, and then of course from 2021, the cases that Vishnuji and his brave father have been fighting, which is what has led us to the Advocate Commissioner Survey, the Archaeological Survey of India reports, which have laid bare over 800 pages the entire truth of what I call unearthing the truth of Kashi's Gyan Vapi. So in this book, I've tried to put together, as a writer, it was extremely difficult for me to piece together these extremely diverse sources that I've never dealt with. To understand Sanskrit, Shankaracharya ji also put me in touch with Sanskrit scholars, Professor K.S. Kannan and Dr. Meera in Bengaluru, to ensure that these are translated from the original. I never like to depend on translations done by Westerners because either they are biased or incomplete. So it's always good to access Sanskrit records in the original. So I was fortunate that way to receive so much help from so many places. And with all of this, and as I said, the universe conspiring, so to say, this book has come out. And on this auspicious day, while I do a Shivarpanam of this book, two things that I'd like to bring to your attention. I'm sure there'll be lots of comments on social media saying, when will this get translated into Hindi and other languages? So very soon as we speak, the translations into Hindi and Marathi are underway, and it should be out in a month. And also South Indian languages in Kannada, Tamil, and Telugu, which is also going to come out very soon. And Kashi's importance in all over India, not just Uttar Pradesh or Awadh that it was limited to, but it was a pan-Indian, consciousness to reclaim Kashi, whether it was in Karnataka, whether it was in Tamil Nadu, it was the Bengal ruler, Vishwarupa of the Sena dynasty, a Gujarati businessman, Seth Vastupal, to every part of India contributing, the Marathas, the Maharashtrian Brahmins who went there and created an educational renaissance about Kashi and its greatness. So for almost centuries, it's been a national project. It's been something that the whole country has been aspiring for. And that is what we also found the inscriptions in multiple languages thereby during the ASI survey. So it's going to come out in multiple languages. The other point that I'd like to make is that considering this is a book that probably Mahadev himself has inspired, I also want to mention here that a significant portion of the royalties that I earn from this book, I would like to donate to the cause of struggling Gurukuls, Vedic Gurukuls, where where the true traditional knowledge of India, I think somewhere that rupture from the past that has happened due to colonial legacy, and worse so after independence, which should have been rectified by now. But in our own small squirrel seva to the Ram Setu, that's what I hope to do. So all of you who purchase the book, a part of your dharmansh also would go into the resurrection of some of these gurukuls in a small way. Once again, I'm extremely fortunate and blessed that today this book has been launched under the aegis of so many eminent dignitaries and in the presence of all of you, eminent ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming and sharing my joy on this very significant occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikram. Not only are you a brilliant scholar and a diligent historian and an author of 9 books, I don't see that flash in the pan. I see many flashes in many pans. You are also a gifted devotee of Mahadev, and I think that you distill Mahadev's direct energy into the pages of this book. Thank you. Can I request Sadhguru Sakshi Shree to please come to the podium and bless us?
Honorable Finance Minister, Government of India, our Chief Guest, eminent scholars on the stage, dear friends, आज वेटिंग फॉर शिवा इस असाधारण पुस्तक के विमोचन के अवसर पर मैं अत्यंत भाव विभोर हूँ। यह अवसर इसलिए भी महत्वपूर्ण है कि अभी हाल में ही 500 वर्ष के बाद भगवान राम की प्राण प्रतिष्ठा करने का अवसर भारतीय जनमानस को उपलब्ध हुआ। इस पुस्तक के कवर पृष्ठ को गौर से देखें। इसमें भगवान शिव के वाहन नंदी का चित्र अंकित है और नंदी बड़ी उत्सुकता से भगवान शिव की 500 वर्षों से प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हैं। ये प्रतीक्षा की व्यथा वास्तव में सिर्फ नंदी की व्यथा नहीं है, ये भारत के जनमानस की व्यथा है जो भगवान शिव की उस स्थल पर काशी विश्वनाथ ज्योतिर्लिंग के होने की प्रतीक्षा कर रही है जहां उसे होना चाहिए। वास्तव में हम नंदी की ओर देखते हैं बड़े असहाय भाव से कि 500 से अधिक सालों से नंदी प्रतीक्षा कर रहा है। उसकी व्यथा है, भारतीय जनमानस की व्यथा है, क्योंकि भारतीय जनमानस भारत की सांस्कृतिक परंपरा में उसकी आत्मा के रूप में भगवान शिव को प्रतिष्ठित किया गया है। और मैं आपसे कहना चाहता हूं, हम असहाय होकर नंदी की तरफ देख रहे हैं, कुछ कर नहीं पा रहे हैं, लेकिन ये पुस्तक, असाधारण पुस्तक जो विक्रम संपत ने गहरी शोध, गहरे परिश्रम और गहरे इतिहास के तथ्यों के अन्वेषण करने के अनुभव के साथ प्रस्तुत करने का प्रयास किया है, उसमें तरह तरह के पुराने साक्ष्यों, आधुनिकतम साक्ष्यों सबका समावेश किया है। उसके आधार पर जो निष्कर्ष उन्होंने दिए हैं वह निश्चित रूप से ऐसा प्रतीत होता है कि बहुत जल्दी नंदी की व्यथा को तो दूर करेंगे ही, और भारत के जनमानस की आकांक्षा को भी पूर्ण करने में तत्काल सहयोगी भूमिका निभाएंगे। बड़े सारे विद्वान आपको पैनल डिस्कशन में ऐतिहासिक तथ्यों से अवगत कराएंगे। मैं तो इस संबंध में एक दूसरी महत्वपूर्ण बात जरूर कहूँगा कि विक्रम को मैं इतिहासकार और बुद्धिजीवी के रूप में ही नहीं, एक व्यक्ति के रूप में भी निकट से जानता हूँ। पिछले कुछ वर्षों से शरीर से और भाव से ही नहीं, आत्मा से मेरे निकट होने का हम दोनों को अवसर उपलब्ध हुआ और मैंने देखा कि वो एक बुद्धिजीवी तो हैं, इतिहास के तथ्यों में उलझते हैं, वैज्ञानिक परीक्षण और परख करते हैं, लेकिन मैंने देखा कि उनके भीतर एक बहुत ही भावना प्रधान भावुक हृदय भी है। इसलिए जब मैं उनकी पुस्तक पढ़ रहा था तो कई जगह पे मुझे ऐसा लगा कि जैसे केवल तथ्यों का उलझाव ही नहीं, तथ्यों का जखीरा ही नहीं, तथ्यों का केवल एक संग्रह ही नहीं, बल्कि पढ़ते पढ़ते लगता है कि जैसे एक काव्य का आनंद ले रहे हैं आप इमोशनली मूव्ड हो जाते हैं, क्योंकि भारत की संस्कृति, भारत का अध्यात्म और भारत की आत्मा से जब परिचय कराते हैं और उससे जिस तरह हम लोग ऐतिहासिक दुर्घटनाओं के द्वारा, ऐतिहासिक कुदृष्टियों के द्वारा वंचित किए गए हैं, तो निश्चित रूप से एक भावनात्मक उद्घोष भी करते रहते हैं उनके शब्द, जो हमें प्रेरित करते हैं कि हम अपनी विरासत को, अपनी संस्कृति को, अपनी आत्मा को मरने ना दें, बल्कि उसे जीवंत करने के लिए सक्रिय हों। उनके भीतर मैंने जो एक जीवंत भावुक व्यक्ति की प्रतिभा देखी, तब उस संबंध में मैंने उन्हें अपने प्राणों से, अपनी आत्मा से एक ही सुझाव दिया कि विक्रम, बुद्धि का भी उपयोग बहुत है, भाव का भी पूरा उपयोग है। अब तीसरी चीज़ जो भगवान शिव ने सारी दुनिया को दी है, जो भारत की सबसे बड़ी देन दुनिया को है, उस देन का नाम है विज्ञान भैरव तंत्र, जो भगवान शिव का सबसे असाधारण अनुपम ग्रंथ है। ऐसा ग्रंथ आज तक पूरी पृथ्वी पर नहीं पैदा हुआ और प्राग ऐतिहासिक है, प्री हिस्टोरिक, यानी पहला ग्रंथ जिसमें भगवान शिव ने अपनी ऊर्जा को, अपनी उपलब्ध शक्तियों को पूर्णता से विकसित करके इसी जीवन में परम आनंद को उपलब्ध करने का विज्ञान दिया है, आत्म साक्षात्कार का विज्ञान दिया है। आप इस जीवन में उस आनंद के साथ एक हो सकते हैं। इसे काव्यात्मक नहीं बल्कि वैज्ञानिक दृष्टि से 112 विधियों के माध्यम से सारी दुनिया को उपलब्ध कराया है। ये ध्यान की 112 विधियां जो भगवान शिव ने दुनिया को दी, उन 112 ध्यान की विधियों में आज तक पूरी पृथ्वी पर ना तो कुछ जोड़ा जा सका है और ना कुछ घटाया जा सका है। यानी मनुष्य की जो जो होने की संभावना है, वो सारी संभावनाएं भगवान शिव ने विज्ञान भैरव तंत्र के माध्यम से इस जगत को उपलब्ध करा दिया है। इसलिए भगवान शिव सनातन है, उनका संदेश सनातन है और उनका संदेश शाश्वत है और उनका संदेश समस्त विश्व के लिए है। और इसीलिए भगवान शिव और काशी विश्वनाथ में उनका ज्योतिर्लिंग शाश्वत संदेश देने का स्तंभ है। और मैं आप सबसे ही आकांक्षा करूंगा कि जब भी काशी विश्वनाथ ज्योतिर्लिंग दर्शन को जाएं, तो सिर्फ दर्शन का आनंद लें और भगवान शिव के संदेश को कर्म कांड न बनाकर, बल्कि जीवन के रूपांतरण के उनके विज्ञान को आत्मसात करने की ऊर्जा वहाँ से लेकर आए और हर व्यक्ति को भगवान शिव के विज्ञान भैरव तंत्र को पढ़ना चाहिए। और जैसा विक्रम ने मुझे वचन दिया है, मैंने उनसे वचन लिया है कि 1 घंटे भगवान शिव की असाधारण दुनिया को जो देन है ध्यान का विज्ञान, 1 घंटे ध्यान का अभ्यास ज़रूर करेंगे और उन्होंने शुरू कर दिया है। ये मेरे लिए बहुत आनंद का विषय है, मैं भाव विभोर हूँ। और मेरा मानना है कि अगर आप भी भगवान शिव के इस संदेश को आत्मसात कर लेते हैं, ध्यान है तो सब कुछ, ध्यान नहीं तो कुछ भी नहीं। और मैं आपसे अंत में कहना चाहता हूँ एक वाक्य में, अगर भारतवर्ष की कोई एक देन समस्त मनुष्यता को है जिसके कारण भारत को जगत गुरु कहा गया, तो वह देन सिर्फ भगवान शिव की ध्यान की 112 विधियों के माध्यम से ध्यान का विज्ञान है। इसलिए मैं इतना ही कहकर समाप्त करूंगा कि जो काम वेटिंग फॉर शिवा के माध्यम से शिवत्व को जगाने का विक्रम ने किया है, वह भी शाश्वत काल तक हमारी दुनिया की संस्कृति को संदेश देता रहेगा। और ये संदेश दे, इसके लिए विक्रम बधाई के पात्र हैं और आप सब इसको आत्मसात करें। मेरी शुभकामनाएं, बहुत बहुत प्यार, बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं आप सबको। थैंक यू, थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
सद्गुरु साक्षी महाराज को हृदय से आभार और आपके स्वर्णिम शब्दों के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। सद्गुरु जी आप आ जाइए, दीपाली उनको इस पे ले आइए। अच्छा, ओके, सॉरी। Can I request Nirmala ji now to come to the podium and address the audience with her inspiring words? Nirmala ji.
Namaskar. All the eminent people on the dais and also the fond and eager audience. Thank you very much for having me here, and thank you, Vikram, for giving me this honor of being with you. And I think, as you always say, superior forces are always at work. So when the books got distributed, you were running short of a book. But then that gave me an opportunity that we could share it. The author sharing with somebody who's just here to perform a small task of thing, unveiling the book. But even as we speak, I hear from Vikram that it has gone for the second publication round. So 20,000 books, 20,000 copies have already been eagerly taken by the readers. So many more 20,000s is my wish. And this is a book which is not going to be just bought with or without the signature of the author. It will be bought and read. And I have had the opportunity to read it because an advance copy was given to me. It just flows. In fact, I had read a portion of it, and then I was traveling. Whoever knew that Vikram will be in the same flight? And forgetting that he had sent me an advanced copy, he came and gave me a copy in the flight. I said, "You've already sent me one, no issues, but I'll be glad to take it. You know, there's some other reason why I'm giving you." And he explained the reason, but I didn't give so much of a importance for the reason that he explained, because it gave me a reminder saying, read the rest and be ready. So during that flight, instead of doing anything else, I did spend good time on it. And what I can say is not so much for the details which is there in the book, which all of us are going to read, but something which I've learned from my family, but something which all of you are privileged and probably know already, so nothing which is going to be new. But I'm saying it because I think I won't be wrong to assume that many of us probably have similar experiences. And this generation tells us that we no longer just can live with that experience. We need to do more. The experience that I want to recall here is we are all told by our families about different pilgrim centers, and we love going there with the parents, with our family. And occasionally and societal abuse that we have tolerated. That's been the undercurrent. Everyone did their little bit to make sure that the recognition for these holy places. I just say holy place, but as they say, 7 moksha nagaris have been kept alive. And what a fortunate generation we are, that among the 7 moksha nagaris, 3 in our generation is getting reconstructed, freshly built, given new life. The 7 moksha nagaris, I'm sure all of you know, and the 3 I'm referring to are Ayodhya, Kashi, and Ujjain. Resurrection has happened, reconstruction has happened, cleaning up has happened, Punaruthan has happened. And the lives of those great living gods, that's what we think about our gods in the Moolasthana. The Moolasthana of Hindu temples is the place where our living God is, and that is why we wake him up with a Suprabhata. We give him early morning something to start the day with, small thing, like if you go to Nath Dwara, the Pushti Margis do it so beautifully. They wake him up with little songs and give him some, just little butter, just little some fruit, because he's a baby. And then you bathe him with all the ceremonial oils anywhere. And then you also give him nice fragrance. Then you dress him up, depending on the occasion. If he's a Gwala, you're readying him, come on, all the cows are ready, go, herd him up and come. Or if he's a ruler, he's dressed up like that virtual king who's going to sit in his darbar. And as the day progresses, you change his costumes also to reflect the mood of the time, the season also. And then you ready him each time with a beautiful arti which links you to something which is beyond expression. And that's why when you stand there, and each temple has its own way. In the south, we have so many different types of artis. For everyone, you look at him with that bright light. You see different expressions on the face, and you do it all, and then end the day by making sure that he's given a good, restful night. So you take him and lay him to his bed, and then keep some eatables just in case he's going to be hungry in the night. The reason why I'm elaborating this, when Vishnu Shankar Jain ji says a temple is a temple is a temple always, it's because our living supreme being is inside it. And we worship him like a member of our family. And that is why when very many bhakti movement singers, whether of the north, Nirguni, Saguni, any or Nath worship, that cult, or even the later generation bhakti singers, all had conversation through their songs with the gods. They adored him, they worshipped him, they were angry with him. They also communicated with him about their day-to-day, yet wanting to reach the moksha, to be in his company. That even the commonest citizen, nowadays of course I can't assure, but commonest citizen would ultimately say, please, give me anayasya maranam. Give me bina dainyena jivanam. In an era of no insurance, health insurance, just give me a life where I don't have to depend on somebody else. Why do these conversations happen? Of course, Dehante, Tavasan Sanidhyam. All these are verses which tell him or her, look, I'm with you. You're part of me. I'm constantly looking up to you. I'm treating you as a very special member of my family, and therefore I'm doing all this. So, that is the way in which every Hindu has related to his God. And documentation has been an inherent part of Hindu way of life. I'm bringing in too many factors. I'm sure each one of you will be looking at various different aspects of it. I'm just sort of here to put it. I'm not talking about the book, but I'm talking about something which has made this book special for all of us, and therefore I'm trying to arrive at that. So documenting is one feature, other than the Moksha Nagari feature, other than the feature with which we are establishing, that's the living connect. The documenting part of it. Stones all over India speak about our gods. There's no doubt. Even in Tamil Nadu, wherever they dig for some secular purpose, building a tank, road, drainage, you dig it up, you get murtis of Bhagwan. You get stones which tell about how rulers of that era have dedicated villages so that the lamp in the temple is never running short of the ghee it requires to keep it up. In the south, it's also Nalana, which is Tilka Tel. It's also a question of how these stones tell you that the main temple, let us say, was built by my father, so-and-so Raja, the Raja, whoever. But I'm here as a humble servant building this 1,000-pillared mandapa. He would say that. So documentation in the era of etching on stones happened as much as talapatras, copper plates, or the palm leaf inscription. Documentation happened. And prior to the documentation period, the oral narration. We started with the eminent Veda Pandits reciting. It had a certain intonation, it had a certain comma, a certain full stop. You couldn't do anything but go on rigorously repeating it. But many of them do have mentions about these ancient temple sites. Today, imagine, these are the citations which are coming into our secular courts. That era, this is the mention, please go check it up. And that era, these were the mentions, and those were mentioned even by the Chinese scholar who came here, the Parsi scholar, or the Persian scholar who came in here, and so on. So, that tradition of maintaining oral, written, stone-etched, or palm leaf, or copper plates have all continued till about, let us say, the 11th century. Post which, about 800 years, I'm sure we kept up the tradition, but we don't know where they were scattered. One surprising revelation about late 15th century for me came from a book that I was reading. I'm going on this point of documentation. A book that I was reading on Sri Vallabhacharya. Before his birth, his parents were in Kashi because his father wanted to get more knowledge from the Kashi Pandits. Otherwise, they were from Andhra Pradesh. When I say Andhra Pradesh, largely the same Krishnadevaraya empire. They had gone there. The mother was pregnant, she was about to deliver, maybe a month or later. There was panic in Kashi. They were requested, like very many others who had come from different parts of the country, to get out of Kashi somehow or else you'll be dead. Vallabhacharya's parents leave, cross the wild jungles, cross some river. That detail the book doesn't go into, but they say this is how they were running for life. and this almost about to deliver mother was also running along. And he was born in the thick forest. And the mother or the couple decide that they cannot carry him any forward. The newborn child wraps him in a piece of cloth, probably her sari pallu, and stuffs him into a tree trunk. And they continue running. The mother doesn't know whether she should grieve or whether she's doing the right thing. And something draws her back to the child. The next morning she says, I have to go. You want to go away? Go. I'll have to see my child. And after she reaches that tree, lo and behold, the child was alive. There was, as is described in the book, there was a halo which attracted her to the child, who she deserted, and then carries the child and goes away, and later he becomes the great Vallabhacharya. The story goes on. So, documentation of things reveal at different places in different contexts, but all of which reveal that there was turbulence, repeated turbulence, and only turbulence for almost 800 years in Kashi. Of course, all of us can recite, was it in 1197, Qutbuddin Aibak, or 11 after that, was it in 1447 again, was it some another Islamic ruler, and then was it again 1669, Aurangzeb, and later it was only rebuilt. But each time it was rebuilt. And each time it was documented that it was rebuilt. For me, other than what I've heard from my family, the documented sources were only Sitaram Goel, Meenakshi Jain, and non-Indian authors with whose interpretation I may not agree, but on Kashi, Diana Ek. Elaborate documentation. You may not agree with many of the things that she may say, but documentation it was. And why do I keep repeating on documentation? That gap of 1,000 years, nearly 1,000 years, where our documents were lost or are scattered everywhere in different contexts. You can't search for Kashi and get Kashi. You probably search for something else and get Kashi. But all that. That's what Sitaram Goel did for us. And that's what Meenakshi Jain, particularly for Mathura, did for us. And they were all small publications, because in the era that they lived, you will not believe, and I'll not believe, if anybody had said it, you couldn't find a publisher publishing your book if you wrote this. And even in that era, you had them being courageous to publish it. And it is that gap or that continuity to keep this written and rewritten with proper, adequate sources quoted and highlighting just the bare facts, narrate the story, which Vikram has started doing for us since the time he published his Savarkar, and before that as well. Whether it was about the Vadayars, whether it was about generally Mysore, whether it was about the famous dancer called Gohar Jan, he's made sure that documentation which is appropriately sourced and information gathered is now what is going to be the way in which we can quote our history. And for that rigor with which he publishes his books, writes his stories, and quotes authors, original sources where he can lay his hands on, Vikram stands out, and I appreciate and absolutely give my word of appreciation for it. It is therefore important for us, even if we don't become researchers ourselves, to read, to spread the word, and support every cause that he takes up or similar authors take up. We cannot leave it to people who are just going to distort our history. We need the right kind of storytelling, highlighting it, and where necessary, be worthy of getting quoted in the courts so that the civilizational attempt to restore it for ourselves is done with fairness, and we are not trying to emotionalize anything. Emotion we have inside, but proof with which we go to the court should stand out for themselves. So I'm sure all of us are eager to hear the panel. I won't take more of my time, but Vikram is doing a fantastic service for the Hindu civilizational cause. I actually want to wish him with Dirghayush and good health so that he continues this fantastic service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nirmala ji. Your awe-inspiring words, your rich repertoire of knowledge of history and the past, and has left me speechless and humbled, and you can see that I'm fumbling now. I really have no words for it. All I can say is that I bow down to your divine scholarliness and your extremely, extremely humble personality. Thank you, Nirmala ji. Can we now begin the panel discussion? Okay. Praveen ji, I somehow seem to be missing your name every time. Would you like to come up and please address us? My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Without Praveen ji, this book would not have happened. Thank you.
So, thanks a lot, first of all, to Vikram ji for offering this book, because in fact this book has come to us from nowhere. I was discussing this book initially with Vishnu ji, and then we met Vikram ji, and then Vikram ji said that, you know, let's do this book. And finally, I'm glad that today, in this August presence, you know, we are launching this book in the presence of Honorable Finance Minister Smt Nirmala Sitharaman ji, and this, you know, fantastic panel. So thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone, for this. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And now to witness a scintillating and amazing panel discussion between Vikram, Vishnu Shankar Jain ji, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, and Advaita Kala.
Thank you so much. And I think we were going to have this conversation. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for what promises to be a very interesting discussion with three very eminent speakers, starting with our author. And Vikram, I'm going to dive right into it, so I don't take too much time. I know you have a flight to catch. Yes. What drew you? We've already discussed what drew you to writing this book. But there is a certain, and you've spoken of that yourself, there is a certain element of angst in the writing, an urgency that comes across. Now, the historian is a dispassionate person. Somewhere you've let that come through in your writing this time round. Did you notice that?
Not really. That's quite a revelation if that's what you thought it was, because I think to the best of my ability, I think in the Indian tradition of itihasa, meaning it thus happened, That is exactly what I've always tried in all my books, whether it was on Savarkar, whether it is this. Of course, there is a certain personal element too. I mean, which of us will not be emotionally connected to Kashi or Mathura or Ayodhya or any of the other sites which are very, very important to all of us. But in the documentation at least, which Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman was also mentioning, I have tried my level best to be as dispassionate. Of course, during the writing of it, your blood would boil to see these barbaric stories. Hasan Nizami says in just the first invasion of Kashi in 1194, 1,000 temples in Kashi were plundered, destroyed totally, and all the wealth was taken away on 18 elephants and 18 camels and 300 elephants. Now, if you're going to read that today, obviously, it brings in an angst in any, sane person. The fact that our educational institutions there were completely crushed, the way the Sanskrit scholarship that Kashi was known for, all of that completely destroyed. Most of the scholars started moving down to South India for safer, pastures. But all that was one side. But on the other side, the story of resilience, where we never gave up. At the heights of the Islamic conquest in Kashi, you had 4 Brahmin families from Maharashtra, the Bhatta, the Mauni, the Shesha, and the Dharmadikari, who actually go all the way to Kashi, take the risk of living there and reigniting scholarship in Sanskrit. And these are the people who also start writing new khandas, parishishtas to the existing Puranas to ensure that Kashi comes back into the consciousness. So while there is angst, there is anger, there is also this immense sense of hope that we never gave up. And probably that is the only reason why we are the only pagan civilization, pre-Bronze Age era civilization still surviving. And the Ram Janmabhoomi, Ram Mandir is probably the only example in history where it has been reclaimed back, from an Abrahamic faith. Between the Abrahamic faiths, there's been a lot of reclamation, but the other way around, the Native Americans or the Aboriginal tribes of Australia or Africa, none of them have managed to reclaim anything of their shrines. Whereas we are still in the process of doing it, and we're doing it through peaceful means. We're doing it through legal means. We're doing it through scholarship by putting that documentation. So I think, and warriors like this who are battling it with so much risk to their own lives, it's a ode, and I don't mean it just like that. The amount, if you read in the book too, the kind of threats that Hari Shankar ji and Vishnu ji have faced, they were threats to them that we'll have a poison-filled injection, put into you and killed, and all kinds of things. I don't know how this gentleman still remains so calm and peaceful and appears day in and day out in news channels, so bravely putting up his thoughts and views. So I think it was a combination of several emotions, but I do hope, really, honestly, Advaita, that the emotional bit does not come through too much in the narrative.
In the writing, in the narrative. No, I think that's surely, even if it was unintended or it's something that I'm reading from my reader's eye, I feel it does add a certain impetus and a certain feeling to the storytelling or the storytelling aspect of this entire issue, which is really something. Vikram, I want to ask you this before we move on to our next guest. Did you discover something in the process of unearthing this heaps and this multitude of versions, and from the Puranic times onto Chinese travelers? Did you unearth something that surprised you that you hadn't known earlier?
Yeah. I think what I alluded to in my opening remarks, today we talk of a north-south divide. We say India was not even a nation. The British gave us a sense of nationality. But when Kashi and the Vishwanath Mandir was repeatedly destroyed right from 1194, all over India, the consciousness that this was something so important and it needed to be revived, that was there. So as I mentioned, 1194, Kutubuddin Aibak demolishes the temple, and in 1212, hardly, 20 years later, you had the Sena ruler from Bengal, Vishwarupa, who comes there, and obviously the Islamic Delhi Sultanate was at its height, so he could not build a massive temple in its place. So he goes and erects a pillar right in the heart of Kashi, saying, this is the city of Vishweshwar. So it was like stamping your authority there. And a few years later, you had a Gujarat, so Eastern India contributing to Kashi. Then a few years later, you had a Gujarati businessman from Western India actually giving 1 lakh rupees to reconstruct this grand temple. And South India then, you had the Hoysala ruler from my state, Karnataka, Veera Narasimha III, who donates an entire village called Hebbale so that the proceeds of that can go to the pilgrims to pay the jizya tax that the pilgrims had to pay to go to Kashi. And there is a inscription too of Veera Narasimha saying all the proceeds of this will go to the lotus feet of Vishweshwara. So South India contributing to that. The Maharashtrian Brahmins I already spoke about. And what the Maharashtrian Brahmins wrote in Sanskrit, the South Indian poets Sri Natha, under the patronage of the Vijayanagar Empire, translated into Telugu in 1440. Someone in Gaya, in Bihar, Vachaspati Mishra, he wrote Tirtha Chudamani, which spoke about Kashi. Tenali Rama's son-in-law also translated the Vayu Puran's Parishishta called Ananda Kanana Mahatmyam into Telugu. So every part of India was alive to the fact that this is such an important place for us. This was the place which guaranteed us salvation, because Bhagwan Shiv himself in the Skanda Puran says any person who leaves his mortal coil in Kashi, when the soul comes out of the body, he himself would come and whisper the Tarak Ram mantra and give the person salvation. So Kashi is such an important part of our traditions. And centuries later, you have again in South India, Muthuswami Dikshitar, one of the trinity of Carnatic music, goes and lives in Kashi for 8 years. That's where he gets his Veena, the golden Veena, and he writes several compositions in Sanskrit, in Carnatic music on Vishweshwar, on Kashi. And about 100 years later, you had Swati Tirunal in this small little, principality of Travancore. He probably never went out of his kingdom, but still that consciousness was there, that he composes this beautiful bhajan in Rag Sindhu Bhairavi saying, Vishweshwara Darshana Kar, Chalo Mana Tum Kashi. And in Maharashtra, in Marathi, there is a proverb which says, Kashi se jave nitya vadave. And the women would say this apparently. I don't have the wherewithal to go to Kashi, but let's keep telling it every day, कि Kashi जाएंगे, Kashi जाएंगे. एक दिन तो फलीभूत हो जाएगा वो. So, and then, in South Indian weddings, and I heard even in other these things, there's an entire ritual called Kashi Yatra. Before the bride and bridegroom get married, the bridegroom threatens to go away to Kashi and take, brahmacharya, and then the father-in-law runs behind and washes his feet and says, don't get married, I'll give you my daughter, a better option is there for you. So this consciousness with Kashi, and which is what unites us as a nation, and who in their sane mind can then say, we are not a nation. What else is this common emotional connect over centuries across geographies, and where is the north-south divide? And that is the reason why the inscriptions that were found there are not only in Devanagari and Sanskrit, but in Tamil, in Telugu, in Kannada, and all of that saying, we have gone there, we have contributed. So I think this was a huge revelation. We always knew this instinctively, but to actually look at it, in tangible terms, that was what was very startling. And what was creating the further angst that you mentioned was the manner in which this was distorted, particularly after independence. And that's another question which we could talk about. I have lots to say on that, about how the Marxist historians have distorted this story and the kind of subterfuge that has gone on in the name of historiography and secularization of our history.
Well, I mean, you're doing similar work, aren't you, right now? Keeping that consciousness alive, taking the story out of Kashi out to the younger generation, the masses. So it's sort of cyclical, it continues. 500 years from now, if people write of this period, who knows? They'll say Vikram Sampath, and of course, Mr. Vishnu Jain. Thank you for being with us this evening. Wanted to really understand from you exactly how you got involved in this issue. And I was watching you on television one day, and you said something very moving. You said initially when you would come on TV shows, you were a sort of a lone warrior, and most of us here are talking heads, so we know exactly what you mean. And there was also this element of dismissing you as some sort of radical and communal person who should not be taken seriously and merely tolerated. Could you tell us a little bit about that journey, from there to this sort of movement now, the books, the conversations, all of that?
See, from my very beginning in the legal career, I was very much fascinated with my father's career. And my father is the, I think, inspiration behind this entire case, and I think he is the foundation pillar for this entire case. And when I have seen him as a lawyer, I'm just not saying because he's my father, I'm saying as a lawyer also I've learned a lot from him. And I've seen that his entire journey of 47 years of legal career has always been criticized by various segments of the society by calling him as a fascist, by calling him as a fringe element, by calling him as a radical element, and by discarding him from various, from the mainstream of the society. And despite that, for 47 years, till this day when I'm talking to you, he's sitting in front of the system and he's doing his next work. So I used to wonder that despite taking so much of criticism, he is so much headstrong for the cause, for the thing which he is believing. Because he took up Ram Mandir case in 1989 when it was transferred to Allahabad High Court. And at that time, to become a counsel in Ram Mandir case was not a very privileged thing. It was a thing that you are like cursed for your life. Because I'm just telling in a very basic thing, those who are practicing in the legal field, their basic intention is to become a high court judge, or to become an advocate general or standing counsel and just enjoy your life. So when he was in his career in 1976, he was enrolled, he was a very brilliant lawyer. So he was offered all these things. And like a saint, he left all these things because my grandmother told him कि आपको भगवान राम का काम करना है. तो जैसे, so in 1989 when he participated in this Ram Mandir entire movement and he did lot of things in Ram Mandir case, he actually took, I think, sainthood in 1989, and he completely devoted his legal career for Ram Mandir case. In 1991, Darshan Yachika happened. All that is history. So I actually, when I'm answering your question, when you ask me how you are able to take this much of criticism, when I'm seeing a career of 47 years full with criticism, so I think I have taken very less, and he has taught me so well. He said that आप अपने मेरिट पे बात करो. अगर कोई आपको क्रिटिसाइज कर रहा है, कोई आपकी बुराई कर रहा है, कोई आपकी आइडियोलॉजी को गलत कह रहा है, आप उनको रिस्पॉन्ड मत करो. आप अपने मेरिट पे बात करो. आप अपने अंदर की तार्किक क्षमता, अपने अंदर की रिसर्च, अपने अंदर की नॉलेज और बढ़ाओ. शायद आप अगली बार उनको कन्विंस कर पाओ. तो टिल दिस वेरी डे आई कीप इम्प्रूविंग माई सेल्फ एज अ लॉयर, कि मैं अपने फैक्ट्स, अपनी हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट्स उसको और प्रूव करूं, रादर देन किसी और को ये बोलना कि आप हमें, ठीक है, इफ ही इज क्रिटिसाइजिंग अस ऑन अ चैनल, इफ एंकर इज क्रिटिसाइजिंग, इट्स फाइन, बट नेक्स्ट टाइम आई मे से समथिंग वेरी अपीलिंग विच मे अपील टू अस. दैट्स व्हाट संवाद एंड विवाद इज ऑल अबाउट. तो उसी पे मैंने कोशिश की. एंड बेसिकली आई थिंक ज्ञान व्यापी का जो पूरा केस है, उसमें मेरे फादर ने बहुत, मैं ऐसा कह सकता हूँ, पता नहीं शायद लोगों को विश्वास हो कि ना हो, उन्हें एक आध्यात्मिक अनुभूति हुई कि उन्हें इसमें कुछ करना चाहिए. राम मंदिर का केस ओवर हो चुका था और इसके बारे में कोई बात नहीं कर रहा था. उन्हें एक आध्यात्मिक अनुभूति हुई. उसके बाद उन्होंने इसमें रिसर्च करना शुरू किया. और मैं सच बताऊं, जैसे मतलब ईश्वर खुद मदद कर रहे हैं, सारी चीज़ें अपने आप सामने खुलती चली गई. और आप देखिए, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्ट इस केस के 3 मेजर टर्निंग पॉइंट्स थे, एंड वी नेवर लॉस्ट इन कोर्ट. फ्रॉम 3 courts we won continuously. First was Advocate Commission. Advocate Commission was ordered by Civil Judge Senior Division. We won from High Court, we won from Supreme Court. Advocate Commission happened. Advocate Commission का बहुत रेजिस्ट किया गया, क्योंकि वहाँ पे उनको पता था शिवलिंग है, उन्हें पता था अंदर क्या है, and that's why they were resisting it. And we couldn't say that we know what is inside, because until as we see it, we can't claim it. So Advocate Commission हो गया. After that, second big thing was the ASI survey. उन्हें पता था ASI survey होगा तो जो ज्ञान व्यापी का सच है वो सामने आएगा. Can you imagine 21st July, 15 days, this is, I'm not saying, ये जितनी बातें मैं बता रहा हूँ इसके पीछे मैं का भाव नहीं है. इसके पीछे ये ईश्वर ने कितना बड़ा आशीर्वाद दिया है और माँ श्रृंगार गौरी की कितनी बड़ी शक्ति है, ये उसका जीता जागता उदाहरण है. 15 डेज में 3 कोर्ट से इस जुडिशियल सेटअप में हम जीते. 21 जुलाई 2023, डिस्ट्रिक्ट जज वाराणसी ऑर्डर्ड फॉर ASI सर्वे. Matter went to the Supreme Court on 24th of July. Supreme Court asked the Allahabad High Court to decide the matter. Allahabad High Court heard the matter on 25th, 26th and 27th of July. The judgment of Allahabad High Court came on 3rd of August at 10 a.m. in the morning. The matter came to Supreme Court at 2 o'clock on 3rd August. Matter was decided by the Supreme Court on 4th of August, and Supreme Court also held that the ASI survey must go on. So within a span of 15 days, we won from 3 courts on ASI survey, and ultimately you are seeing in this book what the ASI has given. और तीसरा, थर्ड सबसे बड़ा टर्निंग पॉइंट इस केस का है, और मैं आपको सही बता रहा हूं, ये सारी चीजों में मैं का भाव नहीं, मैं सिर्फ ये बताना चाहता हूं कि अगर आप सच्चे मन से अपने ईश्वर के लिए, अपने आराध्य के लिए, अपने भक्ति योग को और अपने कर्म योग को मिला के काम करें, तो ये बुक भी उसका जीता जागता एक मिश्रण है. उसका एक जीता जाता मिश्रण है कि कैसे भक्ति योग को और कर्म योग को मिला के आप उसको सिद्ध कर सकते हैं. जब ये सब हो गया SI सर्वे वगैरह, तो जो व्यास फैमिली है वो काफ़ी दिन से हमारे टच में थी, शैलेंद्र कुमार व्यास, और उन्होंने काफ़ी डेटा मटेरियल भी दिया था. और ये था जैसे आज ये होता है ना, एक चीज़ आप दूसरे को पास ऑन करते आ रहे हैं. मैंने अपनी रिसर्च सर को पास ऑन की, सर ने अपनी रिसर्च समाज को पास ऑन की, व्यास फैमिली ने हमें अपनी रिसर्च पास ऑन की. उसको हमने पढ़ा, उसको सोचा, समझा. 25 सितंबर 25 सितंबर 2023 I filed a case in the District Court of Varanasi asking for right of worship in the Vyas Taikhana. Matter was argued before the District Court of Varanasi. On 17th of January 2024, the District Judge of Varanasi passed an historical order by appointing a receiver of that seller. That was a very major order, and there was no hue and cry because no one understood that order. The district magistrate
तो इसलिए थोड़ा explain कर रही है हमको भी.
तो actually क्या हुआ, हमने कहा कि ये जो व्यास family का seller है, in this seller it's a historical fact that from 1551 till November December 1993, the Vyas family was worshipping in the premises, and this seller is right opposite Nandi. This Nandi which you are seeing in this book, right opposite this Nandi, on the southern side of the so-called alleged Gyan Vapi mosque, on the ground floor, this cellar is existing, in which Ramayan part, Navahan part, and all the puja parts of various deities are going on till November, December 1993. It is only in November, December 1993 when a sitting chief minister decided, without any notice, without any written order, to oust the Vyas family from the possession of that cellar, and he installed the barricading around this premises. So for 30 years, no one raised their voice about this issue. And we were continuously saying it on various channels, but no one was listening to us. So it was like to take it up as a legal cause, and then we filed the case in the civil court. So the first thing was, and it's a documented history, that there was a door in this cellar. That door was broken somewhat in the year 2016. Initially, there was a commission which happened in this very case in 1997, on 30th July 1997. That commission gave a report that there are 2 keys of that cellar. One key is with the district magistrate, and the other key is with the Vyas family. And they used to open it and do little bit of rituals and get out from that premises. It was opened for a very short time. In 2016, it's a documented proof we have, that door was broken. I don't know by whom. That door was broken. And when we were going for this ASI survey commission, a thing which happened, it just hit my mind, that there was a senior counsel of Supreme Court, Ms. Madhvi Diwan. So when this survey was going on, I asked her, I requested her that please come in this premises, and you also visit, because you are arguing our matter in the Supreme Court. So you also visit this premises so that you can get an idea of the ground reality. And I want to tell you today that she visited this spot, and the moment she entered this Taikhana, so many Muslims came, around 20 people from the Intizamiya committee, and misbehaved with her in terms of verbal misbehave, and they said that you cannot enter this tehkhana. You are a female, you are a lady, and this is a part of mosque, so you please leave this premise. So she's a very, very, very decent and educated like senior for all of us, and she left the premises. But at that point of time, I understood that they are having a huge claim on this tehkhana, and it can be at any spur of the moment that they can capture the seller. It is that idea which flourished in our mind, and we filed this case. And in this case, it's not that I'm orally saying it in front of you. We said that they can capture the seller at any point of time. So when ultimately the Vyas family will be given the seller, which Mr. all बहुत बड़े बड़े बैरिस्टर कह रहे हैं, आपने सुना होगा, अरे कोर्ट ने तो इंटरिम रिलीफ में वो दे दिया जो फाइनल रिलीफ में दिया जाता है. मुझे लगता है बहुत ही मैं शिद्दत से और बहुत ही उससे कहना चाहता हूँ, उन्होंने शायद जजमेंट ही नहीं पढ़ा. कोर्ट ने इंटरिम रिलीफ में वो नहीं दिया जो फाइनल में देना चाहिए. कोर्ट ने ये कहा है कि अभी इस सेलर का जो कब्जा है वो डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट वाराणसी के पास रहेगा. ही विल बी द रिसीवर. रिसीवर मीन्स ही इज द कस्टोडियन ऑफ द कोर्ट. ये कोर्ट के कब्जे में प्रॉपर्टी टिल द टाइम द फाइनल केस ऑफ व्यास फैमिली इज डिसाइडेड. सो ये ऑर्डर कोर्ट ने 17 जनवरी को दिया, एंड इन कंप्लायंस ऑफ द ऑर्डर्स ऑफ द ऑनरेबल कोर्ट on 24 January, the district magistrate of Varanasi took over the possession of that seller. No hue and cry was there. And the second request we made before the district judge was that kindly start the puja, which was already going on in this premises by Kashi Vishnu Trust, not by Vyas family, by Kashi Vishnu Trust. So the court said that all right, as an interim arrangement, we are passing this order. And let me tell you, ये भी बोला गया कि डिस्ट्रिक्ट जज साहब ने अपने रिटायरमेंट के आखिरी दिन ये ऑर्डर पास कर दिया. एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग. ये मैटर 25 में तो एक डेट्स याद है ना. 25 जनवरी को इट वाज लिस्टेड बिफोर द डिस्ट्रिक्ट जज. 25 जनवरी को क्योंकि एएसआई रिपोर्ट उस दिन ओपन होनी थी, और लोअर कोर्ट में क्या होता है जब एएसआई रिपोर्ट ऐसी चीज़ें सेंसिटिव डॉक्यूमेंट है तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट जज हिमसेल्फ मॉनिटर्ड द इंटायर कि इसकी सर्टिफाइड कॉपी पार्टीज को मिल जाए. तो 25 जनवरी को इसलिए केस टेकअप नहीं हो पाया. इट वॉज लिस्टेड ऑन 29 जनवरी. ऑन 29 जनवरी द लॉयर फॉर अंजुमन इंतजामिया टुक एडजर्नमेंट सेइंग दैट आई एम नॉट वेल. Please appreciate this fact. And that's why the matter was listed on 30th of January. On 30th of January, after hearing both the parties, and they didn't file any written objection to this prayer of puja. After that, the matter was reserved, and on 31st of January, this order was passed. So, बहुत बड़ा एक allegation लगाया गया, and that has been criticized by the Allahabad High Court, by Honorable Mr. Justice Rohit Ranjan Agarwal in the recent judgment, that you tried to like play foul with the dignity of the court, because if someone else would have done contempt और पता नहीं क्या क्या हो जाता. तो आपने high court में भी you criticize the honorable judge so far as his exercise of judicial powers are concerned. और हमने इलाहाबाद high court में so many instances दिए where Supreme Court has passed order on the last day of retirement. So मैं कितने 63 instances दिए where orders have been passed on the last day of retirement by so many judges. So ये आपने सिर्फ एक गलत एलिगेशन लगाया था. अल्टीमेटली ऑन 31st of January द ऑनरेबल डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट, ये मैं थर्ड टर्निंग पॉइंट मानता हूँ इस केस का, कि जो 30 साल तक एक गवर्नमेंट ने अपनी पावर का दुरुपयोग करते हुए वहां पे पूजा रोकी थी, वो ऑनरेबल डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट वाराणसी ने 31 जनवरी 2024 को स्टार्ट की. और मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का कि उन्होंने उसकी कंप्लायंस में तुरंत पूजा स्टार्ट की. ये पूजा वो ही पूजा है जो बराबर हो रही थी, जिसको गलत ढंग से रोका गया, जिसके लिए कोई नोटिस, कोई डॉक्यूमेंट, कोई पूछे कि आपने जब पूजा रोकी थी तो क्या कोई डॉक्यूमेंट दिया था, कोई नोटिस दिया था व्यास फैमिली को कि आप अपील फाइल कर लीजिए लोअर कोर्ट में, हाई कोर्ट में, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, गलत ढंग से आपने पूजा रोकी थी. तो इंटरिम अरेंजमेंट जो है वो काशी विश्वनाथ ट्रस्ट को पूजा करने का डायरेक्शन है. और मैं एक बात आपके मंच पे बहुत सीरियसली बोल के जाना चाहता हूँ. अटेम्प्ट किया जा रहा है, जब आज और हम बात कर रहे हैं, कि वहाँ पे जो ग्राउंड फ्लोर पे ये सेलर है उसकी छत गिर जाए.
अच्छा.
यस. और ये हमने कोर्ट में एप्लीकेशन लगाई है. भारी मात्रा में जो नमाजी हैं वहाँ पे आके नमाज पढ़ लें, उसके ऊपर ही पढ़ लें, क्योंकि काफ़ी ओल्ड स्ट्रक्चर है और कभी भी ऐसी सिचुएशन हो सकती है कि वो छत गिर सकती है. तो हमने ये कहा है कि उस एरिया में जहाँ पे सेलर है उसके ऊपर या तो उनकी एंट्री रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर दें और उस सेलर का रिपेयर कराएं. तो ये सारी मतलब एक जिसे कह सकते हैं चीज़ें चल रही हैं.
इन द कोर्ट एंड आउटसाइड द कोर्ट ऑल्सो.
यस.
और एक चीज़ और आपसे पूछनी है जल्दी से कि यही जो आप विक्रम ने भी काफ़ी बारी कहा है कि आपको क्रिटिसिज्म की तो आदत थी, आपकी परवरिश ऐसी हुई जहां आपने बहुत सुना, पिताजी को बहुत सुनाया गया, पर ये जो फिजिकल जो थ्रेट आप एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं उसके बारे में भी हमें थोड़ा बताइए।
नहीं देखिए, एक्चुअली वी डोंट टेक दिस थ्रेट्स सीरियसली एज लॉन्ग एज वी आर वेरी मच इन्वॉल्व इन आर कॉज। मेरे फादर ने मुझसे एक बात कही थी और वो बात मेरे को मतलब हमेशा घर कर गई। जब हम एंड इट वाज एग्जैक्ट डे आई रिमेंबर 6th May 2022 वी वर गोइंग टू डू सर्वे of this Gyan Vapi premises advocate commission survey, and that time they were in high numbers from Maidagin Chauraha till gate number 4. They were only there in the entire situation, and when we were going, so it was a situation that we will not reach gate number 4. So I asked my father that in this situation I think we will not be reaching gate number 4, and we had lot of inputs that they will not let us, they will not allow to have this advocate commission happen. And it was not just our apprehension. The Intizamiya Committee Secretary had given various statements and comments on public platforms that we will not let this survey happen despite court orders. So the result of this appeal was that there were huge number of members of Muslim community from Medagin Chorha till gate number 4. And at that time I asked my father that how will we reach gate number 4? And he told me one thing, that Vishnu, agar aaj kuch bhi ho jaye, hame jana hai, अगर नहीं जा पाएंगे तब भी हम महादेव के पास पहुंचेंगे, और अगर चले गए तब भी महादेव के पास पहुंचेंगे, पर महादेव तो मिलने जा रहे हैं। ये उनके अंदर एक बिलीफ था कि महादेव तो मिलने जा रहे हैं, तो तुम चलते रहो। एंड ट्रस्ट मी, आई डोंट नो व्हाट करेज ही हैड एंड आई हैड, आई ऑल्सो स्टिल, मतलब आई कांट जस्ट रिकलेक्ट तो करता हूँ, अभी भी बड़ा एक रोमांच हो जाता है कि कैसे हम लोग पहुंचे हजारों लोगों की भीड़ के बीच में निहत्ते गेट नंबर 4 तक, और सिर्फ ईश्वर ने हमें बचाया। और ये एक उदाहरण है, ये एक उदाहरण है कि अगर आपकी लड़ाई सच्ची है, अगर आपके मन में विश्वास है, अगर आप कोई काम सच्चे मन से कर रहे हैं, तो ईश्वर भी साथ देता है। उन सारे लोगों को, सारे लोग स्तंभित हो गए, उन सारे लोगों के बीच हम लोग गेट नंबर 4 में पहुंचे, कमीशन किया, रिपोर्ट आई। तो मुझे लगता है थ्रेट्स वगैरह से काफी ऊपर हम लोग उठ चुके हैं, और मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि सबसे बड़ी सुरक्षा आदमी की ईश्वर करता है।
जी,
अगर आपको अपने ईश्वर पे यकीन, अपने आराध्य पे यकीन है,
हाँ,
तो उससे बड़ी सिक्योरिटी कोई नहीं।
पर आपके बगल में जो बैठे हैं उनको तो ईश्वर पे यकीन है ही नहीं। जी आनंद जी।
My wife is my goddess. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure, first of all, to be sharing the dais with legends and seeing so many icons in front of me. It's really a pleasure, and what can I say, Vikram? Other than the fact that we disagree on the origins of Mysore Park, I think we agree on everything. By the way, if there are any DMK supporters here, ni hao. And and there were these few DMK guys, they wanted to eradicate Sanatan Dharma. So I want you to know, you can have an army come here. Aapke liye Vishnu Jaini kafi hai. They want to eradicate Sanatan Dharma. But talking of Advaita, you talked about, so many things have been said about faith and belief, all magnificent, and I am a proud Darwinian atheist, and they say that there is a thin line between atheism and belief. For me, I snort that line when my plane is about to go down. But the fact of the matter is, I simply am in love with who isn't. Glorious quirkiness and coincidences, and not many people know that my brother Vikram, he 2.5, 3 years ago, at the height of the Delta wave, he had actually stopped breathing. He was on ventilator. He was on life support. And 2 nights continuously, Vikram, even I haven't told you this, that 7 students of BHU, they had a vigil outside Kashi Vishwanath temple. And 2.5 years later, he's writing. He had no idea he's going to write about. In fact, you rightly were saying you were writing about Tipu. You're going to write about Kashi Vishwanath, and here you are unveiling this book. This is one of those glorious coincidences where I would like to forget atheism for a bit and believe in something. It's really magnificent. And Nirmala ji, that wonderful person who's a real inspiration in so many ways, talked about, in very laudable terms, about resurrection. She talked about Ram Mandir, she talked about Kashi and Ujjain. May I humbly disagree with her, not because I'm a contrarian, no, absolutely not, but I believe just as there cannot be truth without reconciliation, there cannot be resurrection without reclamation, And Kashi will be the second temple we will reclaim out of the 40,000 Vishnu. And to those who say just 3 are enough, no, even 4 million are not enough. Because justice is just like science, it works on first principles. If the element of gravitation or Newtonian laws work in one aspect, then they are supposed to work universally. Similarly, if you proclaim justice and deliver it for one case, that is applicable to every case, 4, 40, 4,000, 40,000, 4 million. Otherwise, you're not meting out justice, you are meting out injustice. And I want to say, when does reclamation happen? Reclamation happens when we are aware of our past. And I've said this before, nations weaken not because of their past, but rather by how they are taught it. For 70 years, 75 years, we've been taught to forget our historical injustices, from Somnath to Kashi Vishwanath, from Babarpur to Bakhtiyarpur, from Martan to Mathura. And what's worse is the people who've asked us to forget these injustices have tried to make sure that they glorify this, as though to lionize the debasement, celebrate the humiliation. You talk about Qutub Minar, and there is this glory of Islam, the mosque out there that celebrates the destruction of 27 Jain temples. We're not just forgetting it, we are being asked to celebrate the humiliation. And the fact of the matter is, it's not just a few. The number is in millions, and till too long, I included myself in it. I mean, there are legends, icons here who've taught me so much, and there are icons, as I said, in the audience. I mean, I'll just give 2 examples. You have Sanjeev Sanyal, from whose book I first learned that it is not true that after wreaking havoc in Kalinga, Ashoka saw so much bloodshed that he converted to Buddhism. No, he was already a Buddhist 4 to 8 years before he ventured into the Kalinga war. I mean, if ever I see that historian who wrote our textbooks, I want to meet him. And or meet him or her. Chances are it would be her. But the fact of the matter is, and we have another example, Piyush ji out there, who has authored such iconic phrases as भाईचारा भाईचारा करते रहते हो, पता तो लगाओ भाई कौन है और चारा कौन है. But the fact of the matter is, from him I learned that it wasn't Veer Savarkar or even Jinnah who was the first proponent, at least in the subcontinent, of the two-nation theory. It was Sir Syed Ahmad. And he did it decades before even Jinnah or Savarkar ever talked about it. And the fact of the matter is that we glorify Sir Syed Ahmad as the beacon of Hindu-Muslim unity. In fact, he was the one who said the revolt of 1857 was an act of haramzadgi. It's true. And Piyush ji is able to say this because he hails from AMU. Pushpendra ji, I'm so sorry, yes. So the fact of the matter is, all these things were hidden from us. And they were hidden deliberately, because if we don't know, that's half the battle won for them. And, it's just a matter of shame that we have come to this point, this juncture, that what should be absolutely obvious is being fought inch by inch by inch by people like Vishnu Jain and his father. Here is a person belonging to a minority who's fighting for 115 Hindu causes. And just last bit, Advaita, on this thing about reclamation and resurrection. I mean, if you were to turn your heads around like an owl, who would you see? Turn your heads around. I know it's a bit of a, you see this man, Jawaharlal Nehru. Maybe he is looking down because he doesn't want to meet the eye of Vikram and Vishnu. Or maybe he's been drawn like that in a thoughtful pose because he's thinking which book to ban next. The things we know about Chacha Nehru, who was the beacon of freedom of speech and expression and, held aloft all our first principles, if only we knew the truth. For 70 years, it was hidden from us. That, in the last 50, 80 years, they've been, this world has witnessed tremendous dictators like Mao, Stalin, Nehru. But took you about a couple of seconds to get that, yes. But the fact of the matter is, it is profoundly ironical and very fitting that here we are talking about revivalism, resurrection, sitting right opposite the man who forbade his president to not go and consecrate Somnath temple because he feared it would lead to Hindu revivalism. These are the people we've been taught who've held India together. I mean, what kind of... We're having this conversation in his house, that's right, yes, absolutely. Yes, I can see sulfur, I can smell it. And finally, on this thing about why all this is important. Because this element has struck with me. And it struck a chord because I, as a believer in science, I believe in our profound insignificance, our worthlessness. Nothing really matters. We just hear very fleetingly what is a human life on the evolutionary timescale of 14 billion years. So we have to make sense of this. And the only way I've been able to make sense of it was as, late as 1.5, 2 months ago, when I was fortunate enough to be at that place at the consecration of Ram Lalla on January 22nd. And this thought struck me that there are many amongst us who are going to be parents very soon. There are many who are parents. There are some who are grandparents like Smita Prakash, although she's going to ban me from, okay, yes, she's hiding her face, but she's just messaged ANI to, wo cut kar dena, clip cut kar dena. No, and when a child is born, what do we aspire out of that? Everyone aspires, and it's a fact, maybe cliched that bada hoke doctor banega, engineer banega, writer banega, artist banega, leader of opposition banega. Kejriwal nahi banega. But when was the last time a parent said, "Bada hoke hamare historical injustices ko hatane ke liye ladega"? Never. When was the last time we thought about that? That here is something that has lasted 500, 600,000 years, and no one has instilled this in our next generation to fight for the rights of our ancestors, I am equally culpable as many of you. And when on that evening I saw 15 to 20-year-olds, Vishnuji, you were there, dancing in the streets of Ayodhya, what was it to them? And I really wondered, this is it, this is our civilization. It is not wealth, it is not even health. It's nothing except this thing that we are correcting a historical injustice, that for 20 generations, there were people who were seeing a mosque there. 21st is making sure they're going to see a temple there. That was always there.
Vikram,
I think I shall end there. Thank you.
Yeah. Vikram, asking you about, Marxist historians. There are not too many historian parties you're called to, are you? When they have their little get-togethers and tea, and are you ever invited?
Oh my God, I have cases against several of them. Forget parties. I think my lawyer is there somewhere in the audience. I saw Raghav Avasthi here. Yeah. But, just carrying forward what Anand mentioned about this distortion and routing the discussion back to Kashi, I'll just say, share one example, and it'll become so glaring and evident to all of you that it is not a rhetorical statement that there has been distortion. Now, there's Masare Alamgiri, which is a contemporary chronicle of Aurangzeb. While he was alive, he let out a lot of his chronicles to Mustaid Khan to write this document. And 2 years after his death, Aurangzeb's death, is when this document comes out. In that, very clearly, in April 1669, there is a farman, Badshahi farman, saying all these evil temples and places of the Brahmins in Thatta, Multan, Kashi, all of this should be demolished. And in compliance with that order, in September 1669, there is a return message saying, as per the Badshah's orders, the temple, including Kashi Vishnath, the corrupted form, upper branch of that, has been totally demolished. Now, this is a chronicle document of that time itself and why Aurangzeb did it as well. Now, after independence, just imagine how this was changed by, again, what Anand mentioned, the Nehruvian Marxist consensus. So there was this gentleman called Dr. Bishambar Nath Pandey, who in this book, Islam and Indian Culture, he was a very, very celebrated scholar. He was also, a Congress party member. He went on to become the governor of several states.
It's wonderful how those two go together so easily.
And won several awards, Padma, Sahitya Academy, all these different things. He wrote in this book, Islam and Indian Culture, the actual story behind why Kashi Vishwanath Mandir was demolished. And that's a fascinating account to share with all of you. So according to this fairy tale of Pandeyji, Aurangzeb is supposed to be going on an entourage to Bengal. First of all, I mean, as I narrate the story, I'll also tell you the logical falsehoods and loopholes there. In any of the biographies of Aurangzeb, he never went to Bengal himself. He always sent his commanders. But in his story, it's okay. The year is not mentioned. That he went to Bengal is mentioned. Now, he's supposed to have gone along with an entourage of several Rajput Hindu Rajas and Ranis who accompanied him. Now, on the way, Varanasi comes, and so it's a holy place. And so all the Rajas go and ask permission, saying it's such a, sacred spot. So can we stay over for the night, have darshan and puja? And Aurangzeb, being the generous, golden-hearted, secular ruler, says, "Chalo, hum aaj yahin ruk jate hain. We'll do puja and go." And the second loophole, the Rajas who asked for permission, they themselves don't go to the mandir. They send their wives instead, all the Ranis. Now the third loophole, the Ranis of Riyasats of the Rajput states, they go without any security guards. They go just like that to the mandir. They take a dip in the Ganga, then go worship Vishwanath, and they come back. Now when the count is done, one Rani is supposed to be missing. And that was a Rani of Kutch. Now they search for her everywhere, she's not to be found, and so on. And Aurangzeb is enraged, how could one of our entourage be missed? And so he sends all his soldiers to go and search for her. And then they go there, and apparently there is a sliding wall in the temple with a Ganesh ji ki murti. Usko aise hila diya, to the whole diwar aise sarak gaya, and there was a flight of stairs which went to the Tehkhana, which was right below the Garbhagriha of Vishwanath. And that was where the soldiers found the poor Rani, bilak rahi thi, nirvastra thi, without ornaments. And when they asked her why, she said, "I was molested by the wicked Brahmin priests of the Kashi Vishwanath Mandir." And this is something that they do routinely. Or any wealthy pilgrim comes here, they molest them, take away their jewels, and so on. And so the Rajas were so enraged. They go back to Aurangzeb and say, "This is a place of Satan, so just demolish this mandir." So Aurangzeb just did not want to do it, much against his will and wish. He was forced.
Chivalry.
Really forced by all the Hindu Rajas and Ranis, saying, "Jahanpana, just break this down." And on their force, there they go and demolish the mandir. Though we don't know which Rani was found in Mathura, which Rani was found in all the other Somnath, other temples that,
Who was the historian?
Historian, politician, Bishambar Nath Pandey. Now,
Even Ananya Pandey would be a better historian.
Now, when you go and see where did Pandeyji get this fairy tale from, there is another source, which is Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, who was a former Congress president and also a historian of Congress, history, he writes in his book, Feathers and Stones, and I just quote this, just for the pleasure of everybody. This story of the Banaras Masjid was given in a rare manuscript in Lucknow, which was in the possession of a respected mullah who has read it in the manuscript, and who though he promised to look it up and give the manuscript to a friend to whom he had narrated the story, died without fulfilling this promise. This story is little known, and the prejudice, we are told, against Aurangzeb persists. So this story, according to Sitaramaiah ji, comes from a rare manuscript in Lucknow, which was in the possession of a mullah who died before giving it to anybody. So unknown manuscript, unknown mullah's friend who died, and nobody, rare manuscript, whose name also we don't know. Very, very rare that nobody has seen it. But on the basis of that, this story was first, circulated, and Pandeji quotes that and makes it, more buttressed. And there are a host of other Marxist historians I quote in this book called Gargi Chakravarti, K.N. Panikkar, all these people who buttress this, there was a Sufi rebellion, and the Pandits and the Sufis were always in cohorts with each other, and to crush that, Kashi Vishwanath Mandir was demolished, basically providing cover fire for everything other than the theological and the bigoted drive that led to the actual demolition. So in such a circumstance, and actually 3-4 PhDs apparently have this story quoted in this. And even now, I think when Vishnuji was on some television debate, they were, I think in Hindi or so, there were some people quoting this story, saying, "Arey wo to, that was a den of vices," and so on. Just 2 days back, someone on Twitter told me a similar story, saying that it was some local chieftain, his daughter was kept captive in the mandir, and that's why the mandir got defiled. When did, a woman's presence actually defile a mandir?
So here's the thing.
And this was written by
a new theory that it's actually because you see all the Hindu iconography and sculptures, that this was built by Akbar because Deen-e Ilahi.
Yes.
This was a fusion.
Deen-e Ilahi. Then there is also the story that this was actually Dara Shiko's, Sanskrit Pathshala. So basically everything it is
Soon they'll say it was JNU.
And just, I think in January, we had even Professor Irfan Habib, who I think took Quint or so, said, at least he agreed that Aurangzeb destroyed a mandir in Kashi, but ye Shivji ka mandir tha ya nahi, humko pata nahi. When Masre Alamgari itself says he destroyed Bishnath ka mandir, where is the doubt? You will not trust a contemporary chronicler, but you will believe rare manuscript with unknown mullahs. Why is that? And where is the source? This citation club that you have, circular referencing, I quote Vishnuji then quotes Anand quotes me, you quote me, and then between the four of us, we peer review each other, and then this peer review
sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it's a cozy club. So anybody who's not part of this peer reviewed cozy club, obviously is not qualified enough, is not good enough. They'll make all kinds of allegations. So these type of things, the threats that Vishnuji gets, physical threats, there are intellectual threats that people like Sanjeev, who's here, me, our Wikipedia pages are always on the anvil of the worst of anti-national elements who also, Ranga Bellam, who actually also deface the government of India's website, Wikipedia entries on Kashmir, on various things. So this is a constant battle that we are fighting on a daily basis, I think, and it's a dharma yudh. You have to make your skin and hide really thick to actually go through all of this, and despite that not lose there are moments and occasions when I'm sure we are all human, so we do feel that what is going on? Why is there so much of hostility? But then the larger vision that is there, I think that's what keeps all of us going despite all the odds.
I'm going to open this up to the audience. So if there are any questions, I think we can take about 2 or 3 right there. Please go ahead. Yes, you are.
Yeah, my name is Sanjay. I'm from Kerala. I would like to know what was the reaction from the Shankaracharya mutts when thousands of temples were demolished, and what was their role in reviving these temples? And yeah, these are the questions.
I mean, why particularly do you talk only about the Shankaracharya mutts? Because, I mean, they were all operating under a very hostile, regime. It was not as if they're a religious institution. So I think to revive and reclaim at the time of a hostile, regime would be impossible. Today in independent India, we are not able to do it. Imagine at the heights of Tipu's rule or in Aurangzeb's rule, what could a Dandadhari Bechara Shankaracharya actually go and do? I think their contribution more than reclamation of the mandirs was the fact that they kept the traditions alive, they kept the knowledge systems alive, and all the scholarship that came about, Sanskrit scholarship, and also ensuring that these things didn't go out of vogue. And that is why the flame of the civilization still remains. The physical structures and temples, that was very difficult for them to have done. Not only the Shankaracharya, the other panthas, the pontiffs of all these, it would have been very difficult for them to do then, as it is even now.
मोदी राज में 10 साल लगे, मुगल राज में क्या हालत हुई होगी?
Okay, यहाँ पे the green jacket.
Am I audible? Good evening, sir. It was nice hearing you. I am currently doing my PhD in history from JNU. So I also have a lot of experience with historiography. So like you mentioned about Pattavi Sitharamaiah coming up with some fact and then others were citing him. The same thing happens with other historical facts as well. So like you know this person, of course, Audrey Truschke, who basically concocted this story about...
I know more than just...
Exactly.
Are we all blocked by her?
Right.
I think so.
Right, so she concocted this story about Aurangzeb patronizing so many temples across the subcontinent. Now that's pretty well cited. Many of my professors in JNU also told it to me. So when I looked up Audrey Truschke's article, I saw she was citing someone called Gyanachandra. Now when I looked up Gyanachandra's article, apparently he did not give any footnotes for his information, and he wrote for the Pakistan Historical Society, something like that. There was a journal of Pakistani Historical Society where he used to write about these things. Recently, Pragyata, Ashish Dhar's organization, has done a very good work on this. So my question as a historian, and you are also a historian, is this: how can we, we have to constantly be alert about this tendency. So rigorous primary source, I think that's very important. How would you encourage other historians to look at this? Like,
true, I got your question. So I think the problem is this, creating that citation loop. And so to break that, so like this illustration that I gave, there just needs to be one person illustrating a falsehood. And then there will be 100 others who will keep quoting each other, and thereby it assumes a veneer of truth. If you repeat a lie 100 times, it assumes the appearance of truth. The only and only alternative to that is alternative scholarship. It is difficult. It is not an easy task. So as much as social media wars and Twitter wars, putting screenshots, and Anand, considers several people there as his guru and so on, I would, while that is a different turf there, which is a good battle to fight, finally, as an author, I would love to believe that a book is what is going to far outlive our lives. We may die and go, but we hope that our books will survive. And unless... So it's very easy to demonize and say, let's remove X, Y, Z, the usual demonization of Professor Romila Thapar, Professor Irfan Habib. This happens on a routine basis, especially in non-left circles. But my question to all of them is, they have spent their entire life creating that body of scholarship. Very well, we can throw away Professor Thapar's books, but what are you going to replace it with? Where is the other version of ancient Indian history or medieval Indian history? So unless you create alternative scholarship, there is no hope. And social media is not going to give you that hope forever. And so one small, this thing that I have started through that is the Foundation for Indian Historical and Cultural Research, FIHCR, that was mentioned. After this book tour completes, I hope to get on with more rigor on this initiative, which is to do precisely that. One is also to give fellowships across India for young budding scholars who will write Indian history from a nationalistic perspective. And this is not right, left. These definitions don't mean anything in India. The school of history which Sir Jadunath Sarkar or R.C. Majumdar and others, the rigorous, non-ideological but fact-based historical research that they left behind for us as an exemplar to look forward to, I think that needs to be revived. So through fellowships we would do that. And also the other way is to form multidisciplinary groups where we could explore historical themes. Now, India is probably the singular country in the world where you can be a expert of ancient Indian history and not know a single word of Sanskrit, and proudly proclaim that. Not know Sanskrit, not know Prakrit, not know Pali, Sen Tamil, any of those, classical languages. People have gone on record saying, I'm a medieval Indian historian, I don't know a word of Arabic or Persian. So how are you going to literally access the knowledge there? You're going to depend on translations, and lost in translations, lots of things can happen. So me as a modern historian, for me today to start learning Sanskrit, Arabic, Persian, Pali, Prakrit, it will take me a couple of lifetimes. And also the Sanskrit scholars, they've used their Sanskrit knowledge only for philosophical discussions, or they've used it for karmakandas, puja part, and all of that. They've never used that for historical research. So I thought, grammar disputation, some small things which are great, but I don't know what civilizational impact that would really have on a long-term basis. So forming small groups where a modern historian, a Sanskrit Pandit, some other, an archaeologist, a geologist who don't speak to each other ever. They're all operating in silos. This is an experiment waiting to be tried, where we'll see if we can work going back to the primary source. The primary source in the original language, get it translated as is, as I discovered here also, that even the word linga itself has so many meanings. In Sanskrit, every word has some 15-20 meanings depending on the context. And unless you understand that, you can go to a completely erroneous interpretation of the entire theory. So that is one. So as a pilot project, I would love to also inform that we have seeded this in educational institutions. The first one, the pilot, is in the Nalanda University, where we'll see the rise and fall of Buddhism in India. So every time there is discussion about Islamic conquest, the natural corollary is, but Hindus also destroyed Buddhist stupas. But is there actual historical evidence of that? What do the primary texts say about this? So for that, we've formed a small group of 6 scholars who will work within the ages of Nalanda. What better place to do it than Nalanda, where, few kilometers outside the library that was destroyed by Bakhtiyar Khilji, you have Bakhtiyarpur, even today, commemorating his, as he said, lionizing the debasement. So a Pali Prakrit scholar, a geologist, an archaeologist, a Sanskrit Pandit, probably will go back to the primary sources with zero preconceived ideas. If it comes out that yes, indeed there was some theological sanction to destroy Buddhist temples or viharas and stupas, so be it. But at least let us go and examine the evidence scientifically. So I think scientific and evidence-based writing of history, producing this alternative scholarship, and creating another citation loops based on actual, scholarship. I can then quote Sanjeev can quote Sai Deepak can then quote Anand. We'll create a parallel citation loop, no problem, but let it be based on factual not fairy tale accounts.
So what happens to Bollywood if you all become actual historians? I say, what happens to Bollywood if you actually become
historians? They will be in Jamnagar. But with a nice dry towel in between their. No, but can I, if I have.
I think yes, we'll wrap up with that. Yeah. So I'm going to let go of the mic.
That was a great question, but I want to say something. I mean, to attribute whatever her name was, Andre Chushke or whatever, as she is an expert in history, as Taliban is an expert in feminism. So, but there I disagree with Vikram, because such people will always exist. the idea
I thought
of...
other than Mysore Park, we agreed on everything.
So the idea is not to make sure that, you know, your energy and your thrust goes in kind of rebutting them, because that's a complete lost cause. The fact of the matter is that, you know, they will... I mean, you are from JNU, you asked that question. I mean, communism still exists, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is that every country that has espoused communism has been destroyed, from Soviet Union to Venezuela. Why do we still have Sitaram Yechuri and millions of other communists? So the point is, to go after them with facts is a complete lost cause. What has to happen is you have to bring your truth and fact and put it on the table. That's what science does. I mean, you talk about the Aryan invasion theory. I mean, these are the people who are still proponents of it. But population genetics has come forward very slowly, quietly. Archaeology, scientific methods have come forward quietly, you know, sincerely, scholarly, and they have put the evidence on the table. And you have, you know, so many budding scientists, Gyaneshwarji and so many others, Neeraj, you know, who are not fighting these people. That's a lost cause. They're just putting facts on the table. And I think that is enough, Vikram.
No, that's exactly what I'm trying to do and say, Anand, that you're not being defensive. You're just producing new alternative scholarship. That is not as an answer. And I think that is what, I mean, Sanjeev also talks about this several times, that the previous wave of so-called non-left scholars, whether it was even the yeoman service of people like Arun Shourie.
You talked of Nalanda and Arun Shourie. I mean, you had D.N. Jha, who actually said Nalanda was burnt down by two Brahmin beggars.
Yeah. So, I mean, the previous generation, I think, spent a lot of time, you know, rebutting these things, going on cat fights, almost like a charge sheet. If you read the books, that very well researched and written books, but it's almost like I'm rebutting every point someone else writes. There is no need to give any of these people that importance that they deserve a rebuttal. You're just producing alternative scholarship which in some way obliquely rebuts them. So even during the course of my writing of the Savarkar books, it was never with the intention that this is to be an answer to all the calumny that is heaped on Savarkar. In the process of reading that, obviously those rebuttals will come forth. In the process of reading about the history of Kashi Vishwanath, obviously all these distortions, all these lies will come out in the fore. Not one of them is worth even the footnote to actually amplify them and give them the glory of an entire book of rebuttals. I think that is the only approach that one needs to follow. So we do agree on this also.
Just the lady, right? Yes, please. Please, the last question. How do you counter AI-generated deep fake?
No, I said. Are you talking about my last book that I have? It's a bestseller, so you can't counter it, the AI fake. No, but I think... look, that question can be tackled scientifically, where, again, you put it on the table. You have AI-generated facts, quote-unquote facts, put on the table, and you have people who've spent their lifetimes unearthing them, put on the table, and let people decide. I'm always for that. Even if it is fake, even if it is a lie, it should be brought out in the open. It should not be cancelled, because let people read both accounts. So there is, I know, a lot of discussion going on whether AI is going to change the world and, you know, it's so dangerous and all. I'm not an advocate for that. I mean, I truly believe that AI would be one of the most profoundly helpful tools for scholars and academics. No, but, you know, there I think you made a very important point in Ajmer. You know, how truthful or how believable would be an AI fiction written. And, you know, a person like you, Advaita, would be able to make out the difference almost immediately, whether it is, you know, fact or fiction. I mean, you read Ram Guha and you read Vikram, and then you'll be able to find out, or my experiments with truth.
Okay, last one, because Shri Vikram has to take a flight.
Hello. First of all, I would like to congratulate sir for writing this book. I am Assistant Tiwari and I am doing my PhD from Center for Historical Studies, and I'm looking at the institutional history of Kashi Vishwanath Temple. So, sir, in your book, you have referred to this particular book titled Banaras, the Holy City of Hindus by M.S. Sering. And in his book, M.S. Sering has claimed that there are remains of a Buddhist monastery that can be found well within the structure of Gyan Vapi Mosque. So how do you propose to refute that?
According to me, there are various theories. So the point is, all these theories can be solved if there is excavation. Now we got an order of excavation from the Honorable District Judge Varanasi on 21st of July. But there is certain segment of the society which said that there should be no excavation. So if you want to find a Buddhist monastery, I have no problem. Please tell Anjuman Intizamiya to be ready for excavation.
No, I think.
And this complete theory of this Buddhist monastery, I think there is no historical first sources who can confirm this theory.
Even Ram Temple, they were saying.
If you will read this book, there are sources after sources, the first sources, who have proved that this was the ancient abode of Visheshwara, and there is no question of any other deity being there in this Khasra number 9130. I am talking very specifically about Khasra number 9130. So person can bring theories after theories, but the fact of the matter is the ground reality as well as the historical scriptures prove that this was the place and this is the seat of Visheshwara.
Now, to add to what Vishnuji just said, so again, if you go to the primary sources, 7th century, you had the Chinese Buddhist pilgrim Huan Sang who comes to Varanasi, and his accounts, he talks about a flourishing city of Buddhist culture, where there are hundreds of Buddhist stupas, viharas, there are... outside Sarnath, but even within the outer limits of Varanasi. And within Varanasi, you had, and he says, the non-believers who were there, they were all worshippers of Mahadev, Maheshwar, and there was one very important temple in the city which I went to, and it had a gigantic image which he went and saw, and so on. So 7th century, it seemed to be both these faiths were in coexistence with each other. Now you come to the 10th and 11th century when the Gahadwala rulers took over this place, and after the decline of the Paramaras, the Kalachuris, and all the other North Indian Pratiharas, Gurjar Pratiharas and so on, then the Gahadwalas established themselves as a major force of North India, shifting the capital from Kannauj to Kashi. And at that time, one of the most illustrious rulers of the Gahadwal kingdom, Govinda Chandra, who in a way patronized the entire revival of Vishweshwar worship, though in reality he was a Vaishnav. He actually, his personal faith was to Lord Vishnu. There was a Bindu Madhav temple, other Vishnu temples which were also worshipped there. But he also patronized the Avimukteshwar, Vishweshwar, and all the other lingas. Now what is important and interesting is that he had two wives, both of whom were Buddhist. So you had the main ruler of Kashi in the 10th and 11th century who patronized the Vishweshwar Mandir, and in his own family, being a Vaishnav, he was supporting the Shaiva temples, and he had wives who were Buddhist, and obviously they didn't divorce each other or have a acrimonious marital situation. In this site, as he says, there is no proof that way of first-hand sources. Somebody, this kind of, I tell you some story, then you tell that to someone else and find something else. The excavations or the ASI survey reports, none of that show this, claim. So this is, and so when Shivji ka mandir tha ya nahi, pata nahi, that window that was opened was precisely for this. To say later on that, no, this was Buddhist, this was something else. This is the constant ruse that is used. So till the 11th century, till the time Kutubuddin Aibak comes and destroys Varanasi and Sarnath, while the Buddhist monasteries which had a monastic order managed to, the Hindu order which was not dependent on monasteries continued to survive, Buddhist monks which depended on this monastic order. Once the monastery was demolished, the faith started slowly declining. So that is, one of the major causes, and that even British writers talk about how the sword of Islam fell on Buddhism and ensured its complete erasure from India, including Dr. Ambedkar, who talks similarly about it. So I think this Buddhist ruse is constantly brought out for contemporary politics without any primary sources.
Add something, because this is exactly what happened in the Babri Masjid Ram Janambhoomi thing. There were dozens of historians who said that there was a Buddhist shrine, there was no Ram temple there. And you must hear Hariji, basically rebut them so brilliantly, because in the 2010 Allahabad High Court judgment on it, historian after historian was exposed for their fraud in front of the judge. Most of them said, I'm not a historian at all. Most of them said, I got this from some newspaper. So none of their claims proved to be factually true. So, the same thing happens again. They bring in this ruse of Buddhist thing. And I've said this before. If you believe there was a Buddhist shrine there, come forward. I will go with you in front of the judge and ask for it to be reclaimed, if you have the guts. Don't just hide like a coward, and evidence.
Just a quick word of thanks to all of you. What an enthralling, scintillating discussion that was. On behalf of the Prabha Khaitan Foundation, I thank Nirmala Sitharaman ji, Sadhguru Sakshi Shree Maharaj, Vishnu Shankar Jain ji, Vidwan Shri Kartik, Dr. Vikram Sampath, Dr. Ranganathan, and our brilliant conversationalist, Advaita Kala. For those of you who are interested, the book is available outside, and Vikram will be happy to autograph it for you. Thank you and goodbye.
शरण आवत